In addition to ports, subscriptions are a solution for the challenges of talking to JavaScript code. Subscriptions are about receiving outside data into Elm web apps and transforming that outside data into messages for the update function. This means subscriptions allow receiving data sent by JavaScript code. Moreover, subscriptions can also be used to receive other outside data, such as keys pressed by the user, and even some browser events, such as resizing the browser window size. To receive data from JavaScript code, we need to use an incoming port that returns a subscription. Notice that a port can either be used for incoming or outgoing data. In contrast to an incoming port, an outgoing port returns a command sent by the update function. Here is a high-level diagram about receiving data from JavaScript code. The diagram has the update function that receives messages and sends commands and models, the Elm runtime, and some JavaScript code. In the previous clip, the update function sent a command using an outgoing port. The JavaScript code subscribed to the outgoing port and received the data from Elm. To send the data back to Elm code, our JavaScript code needs to use a separate incoming port, which is going to send a new message to the update function for further processing. Here are the critical pieces of Elm code on how to receive data from JavaScript. First, we need to define a new message variant which will carry the data received from JavaScript code. We expect to receive a string, so the message variant has a string payload. Second, we need to handle the new message variant in the update function, just like we handle all other message variants. Third, we need to define a new port for the incoming string values from JavaScript. The port has a suggestive name, which is clear about the data flow from JavaScript to Elm. The port expects a message variant with a string payload, and it returns a subscription with a placeholder message. Fourth, we need a subscriptions function that takes the model and returns a subscription with the actual message. We don't use the model in this basic example, we just call the port with a new message variant so that the new message variant is generated when data arrives from the incoming port. Finally, the subscriptions function is linked in the browser element entry point. In the HTML page, we have the JavaScript code to initialize the Elm web app. To send a string, we need to use the port name and call the send function with a string argument. This JavaScript line of code is going to send a hello string to our Elm web app. Let's have a demo to send some data from JavaScript to Elm code. We are going to prepare our Elm code to receive a new order status from JavaScript code. We'll add a new message variant with a string payload, then add a new incoming port and a new subscription. Finally, we'll update our JavaScript code so that we can send a new order status. On the demo machine, add a new message variant named data from JS with a string payload. We need to handle the new message variant in the update function. Data from JS, the string payload has the new order status in the new status variable. Return a tuple with a modified model with a status set to the new status variable and an empty command. Go to the top of the page and define a new port named from JS to Elm, which expects a string to message parameter and returns a subscription with a message placeholder. At the bottom of the page, we have an empty definition of subscriptions app, which returns an empty subscription. Replace it with a call to the new port from JS to Elm and the new message variant as argument, data from JS. The subscriptions app function is already linked to the browser element entry point. Now we can save the file. Let's switch to cart.html. We need to add some JavaScript code to send a new status to our Elm web app. Let's implement the following feature. After receiving the order status from Elm code, the user gets a dialog box to introduce a new status, which is then sent back to Elm code. To implement this, inside the process Elm data function, define a new variable with the name newStatus that gets a call to the prompt function with the message, please enter the new status and the current status in place. After receiving the new status, use the new port from JS to Elm. Watch out to use the same port name to send the new status back to the Elm code. Save the file. In the terminal, compile again hello.elm to get an updated cart.js. After the success message, switch to the browser and refresh the page. Click the Place Order button to get the order status from Elm code and the prompt dialog box to enter the new status. Let's replace tomorrow morning with today and click the OK button. Notice that the order status is now set to the new string that JavaScript code sent to our Elm web app using the new port and subscription. Perfect! Elm and JavaScript code can work together so that future Elm web apps can use existing JavaScript code.